Hello Year 10 and welcome to today's online lesson. My name is Mr. Best and I'll be taking you through today's lesson just like we did yesterday. Now before we get going, we're going to have a quick look at what we covered yesterday. So yesterday we covered stem and leaf, we had a few sets of data, we created stem and leaves, and then we were able to have a look at the way the data was spread and consider what that told us. And today, we're going to move on to the mean and range. Now, for today, we're going to just simply practice the skills of what is mean and what is range, and how we work these out. We will then have an opportunity, potentially, to look at them in tables. Now, we're not going to have time during this lesson, but if you'd like to see how to work out the mean and range from tables, you can go onto Heggerty, and you can have a look for these tasks specifically. But let's get going into today's lesson. So we're going to start off with the do now, just the same as we did yesterday. So if you could split your whiteboard into 4 quarters and then pause the video and have a go on your own. Okay, now we're going to go through each of these sections. So first of all, we're asked to substitute in x is equal to -3 and y is equal to -5. So what I'm going to do is, where the letters are, I'm going to put brackets. So I had 3 brackets, and what was x? Well, x was -3, so I'm going to put -3 in the brackets, plus 2, and then we'll put our brackets, and y was -5. Now, if we work these out, we've got 3 multiplied by -3, and a positive multiplied by a negative is going to give us a negative answer. So 3 multiplied by -3 is going to give us -9. Add 2 multiplied by -5. Well, that's going to give us -10. And now we're at -9 and we're adding -10. So if you imagine on my number line I'm at -9 and I'm adding a further -10 going, so I'm going to continue down the number line. So this would therefore equal -19. Now our second substitution question. Substitute, but this time x is equal to -3, y is equal to -5, and my question actually has a squared in it and a subtract sign in the middle. So let's write this out. So we've got brackets. What was x? Well, x was actually -3 this time. Squared, subtract 2 brackets, and then what was y? Y was -5. So, just remember here, squared means the number times itself. So, we're doing -3 multiplied by -3 here. And when we multiply 2 negative numbers together, we actually end up with a positive answer. So, -3 multiplied by -3 actually equals +9. So, down here I'm just going to write 9, subtract, and then I'm going to do 2 times -5. Now we know from before positive and a negative gives us a negative answer, so we have -10. Now the key thing I want you to look at here is this combination. If we subtract a negative number, what that means is we're actually going to go up the number line, we're going to add this number to our original. So since it's 9 subtract -10, what this is essentially telling me is 9 plus 10. And we all know that 9 plus 10, well, that equals 19. So that would be my final answer. Now if we work ourselves down, write out the first 5 terms in the sequence, 2n plus 3. So our term that we're using is 2n plus 3. And what I'm going to do here is work out the first 5 terms. So each time what I'm going to do is substitute in numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for n. So I'm going to have 2 brackets 1 plus 3 and 2 multiplied by 1. Well, that would be 2 plus 3, 5. The second term would be 2 brackets 2 plus 3. Well, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 3, 7. 2 brackets 3 plus 3. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 3 is 9. 2 brackets 4 plus 3. Well, 2 multiplied by 4 is 8, plus 3 equals 11. And finally, 2 brackets 5 plus 3. Well, 2 multiplied by 5 is 10, plus 3, 13. And there would be my first 5 terms. So my first 5 terms would actually be 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. And finally, we had one of these yesterday. So just like I did forming an equation yesterday, I'm going to read this and write it as I read it. So I think of a number. Remember, number we're going to represent with a letter. So this could be n, x, y, anything you want really. But I'm going to go with n. I divide it by 3. And I then add 4. Now, when we have division and we're writing algebraically, we like to write this as so. So n divided by 3, add 4. So you can see that whatever my answer to this would be, I then add the 4. So this should have been how our final answer would look. Okay, we're going to get going into today's lesson now. So those are your answers in one view for the do now, and I'm going to move forwards. So we're looking essentially at 2 different types of averages today. We're looking at the range and we're looking at the mean. Now, an average is a value that represents a group of data. Okay, now, like I mentioned, we're going to do range and the mean. But first, we'll start on the range and we'll focus purely on this in order to make sure we understand this. So, the range is the largest data value, subtract the smallest data value. The range is not an average as such, but is measured by spread, the difference between the largest and the smallest. So, make sure you write that in your book now, especially this point here, because this is a key rule we're going to keep on coming back to over the course of today's lesson. So, here is a question. Calculate the range of the set of data below. So the first thing I'm going to do is, this is all of my data, and what I'm looking for is for the largest and the smallest values in here. So if I just cast my eye over, I can see 3 is quite small so far. So 3 is definitely the smallest, and the largest, well, I can see that as 12. So remember, I am doing the largest subtract the smallest. So in this case, I have 12 subtract, and the smallest we said was 3. And if I do 12 subtract 3, I get 9. So therefore, the range, apologies for that, the range is equal to 9. Okay? And the range is that simple to work out. All we're going to do every time is the largest subtract the smallest. So now you've seen me do one. Pause the video and you have a go. Okay, so now that you've had an opportunity to have a go, let's go through this one. So first of all, let's look through the data. So 2 is quite a low number, and just casting my eye over here, 2 is going to be the smallest. Looking for the largest, 14 is the largest. So I'm going to have 14 subtract 2. And that is equal to 12. So therefore, the range is equal to 12. Okay, mark yourself through. If you made any errors, just have a quick look. But just remember, we're always looking for the largest value and we're subtracting the smallest. Okay, next ones. So you can see here I've got a very similar question, but this time I've actually got decimals involved. So I've got 1.62, 1.41, 1.35, 1.20, 1.15, 1.59. So the first thing that I need to do is identify the smallest and largest value. So I'm going to just look for the largest first this time, since I wrote it down first. So this is quite large here. And it turns out the first one that we have written down, 1.62, is actually my largest value here. Now we're going to look for the smallest, and we can see here 1.15 is my smallest value. So we're going to subtract 1.15, and what that will give us as an answer is 0.47. So therefore my range is equal to 0.47. My range is 0.47, and that would be my answer for this question. Here's one for you to have a go at. Pause the video and resume once you have done it. Okay, so we've got our set of data just like before here. Let's have a look for the largest again. So the 1.45, 1.60. 1.60 would be our largest here. As remember, don't get confused thinking, well, this has 2 digits. 1, point, and we go 6, and this is a 5, and 6 is greater than 5. So 1.60 is my largest value. 1.60, this is the largest, and now we're going to find the smallest, so we can subtract. So we've got 1.21, and actually 1.21 is my smallest value, so 1.21, and we're now going to subtract, and that would give us 0.39. So therefore my range is equal to 0.39. Here's a set of questions for you. So I'm going to ask at this point for you to pause the video, work your way through these questions. If at any point you are starting to find anything difficult, you can look back at your notes, or you can take yourself back in the video to look at the examples and use these to support you. Otherwise, I will give you some time to have an attempt. Once you have finished all of the questions, then please resume the video. Okay. Let's get ourselves going here. So just before we go through all the answers, I just wanted to highlight these questions here, because what I've done here is I've given you a little bit of a challenge. I've this time told you the range for the list of numbers is 7. The smallest value is 4. What's the largest value? Now remember, we were working out the difference between the smallest and the largest value. We were subtracting the smallest from the largest. So if I know the smallest is 4, and the range is 7, well, I know 4 plus 7 is going to give me my largest value, in which case that would be 11. And to check this is correct, I could do now 11 subtract 4, the largest minus the smallest, and that would equal 7. And 7 is the range. So we know that this is correct. So this is just how you could have worked these out. If you got stuck here, and now that you've had a little bit of support, these make sense, you can quickly pause the video again and attempt the rest of them. But if you finish them, I'll move this forwards now for you to be able to mark. Mark yourself through. Take your time, pause the video if you need to, just so you have an opportunity to mark all of the above questions. Okay, so now we've done the range, we're going to look at the mean, and the mean is it's one of our averages. So to find the mean value of a set of data, you add up all the data values and then divide by how many there is. This might not seem particularly clear what this means yet, but once you see an example, it will make a lot of sense. If you could make sure you write this down in your book, because this is again a really important rule that will be helpful for you. So, the top 5 scores in a geography test for Year 7 class are recorded below. Find the mean of the data. So what we're going to do, we are firstly going to add up all of my bits of data. Okay, so we have got 48 plus 49 plus 52 plus 50 plus 51. And that equals, when all added up, 250. Now, what I next need to do is count how many bits of data I had. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had 5 pieces of data in total. So what I'm now going to do is do 250 divided by the amount of data I had, which was 5. So now that we've got 250, we divide it by 5, and that equals 50. So therefore, the mean equals 50. Okay, so I've just added up all the data I have. 48, 49, 52, 50, 51. And once I've added those up, I got 250, and I divided by the amount of data there was, which was 5, and that equaled 50. And therefore the mean is equal to 50. Here's one for you. Pause the video now and have a go. Okay, so we've now had an opportunity to attempt this ourselves. So the first thing we should remember is we're going to add all of these numbers together. All of our bits of data we're going to add. So we have 44 plus 47 plus 50 plus 48 plus 51. And that equals 240. Okay, so we've got 240 there. Now, how many bits of data did I have? Well, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm now going to divide by 5. So 240 divided by 5, and that equals 48. So therefore the mean is equal to 48. Okay, this would be my average score that these pupils got overall. Okay, so mark yourself through. If you didn't quite get that, have a look back now, see where you might have had a misconception or made a small mistake, and just see if we can correct that in our workings. Okay, so this time I've got one slightly different for you. So 2 dice were thrown 10 times, and their scores were added together and recorded. Find the mean. So this question is worded slightly differently and could be a little bit tricky, but we're just going to follow the same process. So we're going to add all of these bits of data together. So we're going to have 7 plus 5 plus 2 plus 7 plus 6 plus 12 plus 10 plus 4 plus 8 plus 7. And once we've added all of that, that will equal 68. And now what I need to do is count how many bits of data I actually had. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I had 10 bits of data. Okay, so 68 divided by 10, and once I've divided by 10, that will give me 6.8, and therefore my mean is equal to 6.8. Okay, now hopefully you've seen here I've not changed anything I've done. There is more data, but all I've done is I've added everything up as it's gone. If you have a calculator, you can use your calculator for this part, because it is a lot of workings you need to do. It equals 68. 68 divided by 10 equals 6.8, and therefore the mean is 6.8. Here's one for you to have a go at. Pause the video and resume once you've attempted it. Okay, let's have a go at this one. So the first thing we're going to do is, just like before, we're going to add all of our bits of data together, just like so. So let's go through it. So we're doing 4 plus 5 plus 3 plus 6 plus 6 plus 11 plus 10 plus 4 plus 8 plus 7, and that equals 64. So now we've got 64, and we're dividing by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're dividing by 10 again. So divided by 10, and this equals 6.4. And therefore the mean is equal to 6.4. If you didn't get that correct, have a little look through the workings now and see. If you did, very well done. Feel free to pause the video if you need a little bit longer to look at this. Okay, so here's some questions for you. Work yourself through, have a go, and once you've had an opportunity, resume the video to mark these through. Okay, so here's the answers for you. Mark yourself through. If you need a little bit longer to do so, again, please do feel free to pause the video and take the opportunity to mark. Otherwise, I'm going to move forwards. So that is today's lesson completed. Thank you very much for coming through this year 10 and very well done for your effort. Can I please remind you now to go onto Frog. Once you've gone onto Frog, take a photo of all your work. Go to File Drop and upload that photo so your teacher can see everything you've done and all the hard work you have put in, and then give you some feedback. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and thank you for your effort through this lesson.